Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi reaffirms the urgent need for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and calls for the resumption of dialogue. An Egyptian security delegation arrives in Doha to continue negotiations for the release of hostages and detainees in Gaza. And Jordan's parliament condemns ongoing media smear campaigns targeting Egypt and Jordan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Q News, bringing you the latest updates from Egypt. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi held talks with Sierra Leone's president in Cairo, focusing on regional security and economic cooperation. The two leaders emphasized the need to strengthen counterterrorism efforts in the Sahel region and improve food security across African nations through enhanced bilateral and regional coordination. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has reaffirmed the urgent need for a permanent and sustainable ceasefire in Gaza, calling for the resumption of dialogue and a return to negotiations. During talks in Cairo with Sierra Leone's President el-Sisi stressed the importance of a two-state solution and the protection of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people as the only path towards a just and lasting peace. An Egyptian security delegation has arrived in Doha to continue negotiations aimed at securing the release of hostages and detainees in Gaza. The talks are part of a transitional phase to de-escalate the conflict and facilitate the entry of humanitarian aid ahead of the next stage of a permanent ceasefire agreement. Members of Jordan's parliament have condemned what they described as ongoing media smear campaigns targeting Egypt and Jordan. Lawmakers say the attacks are a response to both countries' unwavering support for the Palestinian cause and reduction of forced displacement plans. In remarks to Egypt's MENA news agency, lawmakers reaffirmed that Cairo and Amman's historic and humanitarian stance on Palestine remains unchanged despite pressure from Israel and the United States. MP Mu'taz Abu Rumman said both nations' positions are rooted in decades of sacrifice and will not be swayed by disinformation campaigns. Egypt's ambassador to the European Union, Ahmed Abu Zaid, took part in a high-level Arab Committee meeting in Brussels alongside ambassadors from Saudi Arabia, Palestine, Qatar, Kuwait, Lebanon, and the Arab League. The talks with the European Union ambassadors and the Mediterranean Commissioner focused on the situation in Gaza and the Arab Reconstruction Plan. Abu Zaid emphasized the link between southern Mediterranean stability and European security, stressing that no regional partnership can succeed without a ceasefire and lasting peace. Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli chaired a meeting of the government's economic group to review key economic files. The meeting focused on advancing structural reforms and noted a significant decline in inflation, with monthly rates nearing pre-2022 levels. Government spokesman Mohammed al-Humusani said the drop in inflation is attributed to central bank monetary policy and stable food prices. Officials reaffirmed their commitment to sustaining economic reform efforts across all sectors. The International Monetary Fund has announced its 2025 spring meetings with the World Bank will be held from April 21 to 26, with IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva set to deliver a keynote speech on April 17, addressing global economic challenges. In a press briefing, IMF Communications Director Julie Kozak said Egypt's economy is projected to grow by 4.1% in the 2025-2026 fiscal year, up from 3.6% the year prior. Inflation is expected to fall to 13.4% by the end of the fiscal year. The IMF board also approved Egypt's fourth review under the Extended Fund Facility on March 10, unlocking $1.2 billion, along with approving the Resilience and Sustainability Facility, allowing access to an additional $1.3 billion. Egypt's Minister of Labor Mohammed Gabron met with Ambassador Mahmoud Afifi, Egypt's ambassador to the Czech Republic, to enhance bilateral cooperation between the two nations in labor and employment sectors. The meeting focused on improving workforce mobility, particularly in tourism and other key sectors, with Minister Gabron reaffirming the ministry's commitment to supplying skilled workers to meet Czech market demands. The Egyptian-Tunisian Joint Agricultural Technical Committee held a video conference to discuss various mutual agricultural interests. Key topics included sharing Egypt's experience with the farmers' court system, improving the flow of agricultural goods, pesticide residue analysis, and enhancing organic farming. The two countries also focused on palm jade production and combating palm weevil, with Egypt offering expertise to further develop Tunisia's agricultural sector. Head of the National Air Navigation Services Company, Captain Ihab Mohiddin, has hosted a high-level delegation from Eurocontrol to strengthen air safety measures for flights between the Middle East and the European Union through Egyptian airspace. This meeting is part of ongoing efforts to enhance international cooperation in air navigation, following discussions with Egypt's Minister of Civil Aviation, Dr. Sameh Hifni, earlier this year. The Hadaiq company responsible for managing and operating the Giza Zoo continues its comprehensive development project to upgrade the zoo's infrastructure, preserve historic trees, and restore ancient monuments. Recent reports highlight the completion of key projects, including sewage and water networks, alongside 82% progress in animal care facilities. Special efforts have been made to protect trees over 150 years old, and restoration work on 4 historic buildings, such as the Japanese kiosk and remnants of the Harm Lake Palace, is nearing completion. Youth and Sports Minister Ashraf Subhi has overseen the signing of a cooperation protocol between the Egyptian Squash Federation and Black Bull Sports Investment to organize and sponsor the 2025 World Junior Squash Championship. The event, which includes both individual and team competitions for under-19 boys and girls, will take place from July 21 to August 1 in Cairo. This marks Egypt's second time hosting the prestigious event, with the last edition held in the country in 2003. The return of the tournament highlights Egypt's growing reputation as a trusted global destination for major international sports events. Minister Subhi emphasized that Egypt has become a world-class hub for hosting global sports competitions, thanks to its advanced sports infrastructure, strong organizational capabilities, and unwavering support from the country's political leadership. Egypt's Meteorological Authority has forecast hot weather nationwide today, as conditions will be moderate at night and early morning across most areas. Wind steering, sand and dust are expected in Greater Cairo, the Nile Delta, and northern Upper Egypt, with reduced visibility reported in parts of the North Coast and Western Desert. Maritime navigation is also expected to be disrupted in the Gulf of Suez and the Gulf of Aqaba, with wind speeds reaching up to 50 km per height and wave heights of up to 2.5 meters. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin. Here's what we've been covering. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi reaffirms the urgent need for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and calls for the resumption of dialogue. An Egyptian security delegation arrives in Doha to continue negotiations for the release of hostages and detainees in Gaza. And Jordan's parliament condemns ongoing media smear campaigns targeting Egypt and Jordan. That's all for now. Remember to stay updated by following Qnews for the latest developments, and thank you so much for watching.